Hello, everyone. I'm Deb Lester.
And I'm Sarah Lester. This is episode 9 of the Lester Leadership Series. This series explores AEC industry trends, highlighting the voices of industry leaders and examining how COVID-19 has impacted jobs and the workplace. A little known fact, as of 2020, while 46% of the US workforce are women, when analyzing the AEC industry specifically, only 27% of professionals who specialize in the architecture and engineering are women, and in construction, just over 10%. This underrepresentation extends to leadership in the industry, with only 16% of AEC firms employing women in C-suite level positions.
Today, we are honored to be speaking with a part of that 16%, industry leader Claudia Bilotto, who currently serves as WSP's Southern States District Leader, responsible for leading the advisory, buildings, water, energy, and transportation business lines across 7 states. Her 22 years of experience include planning and implementing major projects for public agencies, including departments of transportation, transit agencies, and county and city governments. Active in both civic and industry leadership activities, Claudia is currently the Vice President of the International Association of Public Partnership, IAPT, P2, USA Board of Directors, and serves in the ACE-CGA Board of Directors, the Georgia Tech School of City and Regional Planning Advisory Board, and the TRB Committee in Transportation Planning, Policy, and Process. She currently co-chairs the Georgia Partnership for Transportation Quality, GBTQ, Consultant Relations Committee, CRC, Procurement Subcommittee, and serves as a mentor in the Georgia Mentor Protege Connection Program. Claudia has a BA in Telecommunications from Penn State University and her master's in City and Regional Planning from the Georgia Institute of Technology. Claudia is married and has 2 daughters. They are 9 and 14, and she loves to travel with her family and exercise. She's a runner, and she is a rock star there too. She's done 9 marathons. Amazing.
Wow. Yeah, that's quite a bio. We're so happy to have you here and to speak with you today, Claudia.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. And, it also just shows how many acronyms you need to know to be in this business.
Yes.
And we stumbled through those.
So many.
Yes.
So our first question, we usually ask to most of the people we have on the show or on the podcast, how has it been being a woman in the AEC industry? Any challenges? And what steps can the AEC industry do to attract more women into the industry?
Well, it's interesting. I feel like as I look back, I feel like our industry has come a long way. There are certainly more women than there once were. And I have to say, personally, I have never felt like being a woman in the AEC industry was a handicap in any way. I think it's just the reality that it's a smaller pool of women to begin with. And there are some realities about our industry that just, make it harder to keep women in the profession, and particularly at large firms in the profession, which is, where I have chosen to be at this point in my career. And I've worked at a lot of different sizes of firms too. I started my career working for a woman-owned DBE firm, so it was all women. And then as I moved to larger companies, that's where I saw, more of the challenges. And I think some of it has changed over time, where earlier in my career, for women who were getting married and having babies, there just wasn't as much flexibility, right? And I was luckily in a position where I had managers that were willing to be a little flexible, and I was able to make that work for me. But that's not a choice that all women in the industry can make. And I've been able to maintain that. And today I feel like there are lots of opportunities for women, but to be honest, I'm still surprised at the number of calls or meetings that I have during the day where I still might be the only woman, but I think that's something that is just going to take time to play out because it's a smaller group. And so you mentioned getting more women into the, AEC industry. I think that's where it all starts, right? I think people, we really owe it to ourselves and the industry's workforce to engage early with young people so that they understand what the opportunities are. I know, personally, I came into this industry through planning, transportation planning. I didn't know what transportation planning was when I finished my undergraduate degree. I figured that out later, right? So maybe if more people knew about these opportunities earlier, we'd have a bigger pool to start with.
Yeah, that's a good point. Raising awareness about, all the opportunities that are available to young people. So you talked about engaging younger people to follow this career path. So what advice would you give a young woman who was maybe looking to join the AEC industry?
Well, I'd say, there's all kinds of opportunities, right? Whether it's planning, engineering. I mean, I think, and right now we need people. So if you have this educational background and you're interested, go for it. And, my philosophy, I guess, has always been to be willing to try everything that you have the opportunity to do, and use the skills that you have. I think one thing that's come in really handy for me in this industry is that I'm a good communicator, right? And not all engineers are good communicators, which is okay. But if you are, then that's something that's going to help you carve your path. So I think, honing in on what you like to do and what your gifts are and using those gifts, but being open to trying new things, building relationships from the beginning. Those are things that are gonna help. I mean, they're not only going to help you build your career and your skill set, but they're also what affords you opportunity in the future. Because if you don't put yourself out there and sort of know what the options are, you're never going to be able to grow.
Amazing. We've heard this before from other women specifically, that using their communication skills, they may not have even been involved in the industry, but they saw a huge opening in this industry specifically to use those communication skills and their networking abilities for business development and other things. So that's great.
Mm-hmm.
So you've done a lot in your career, obviously, from the long bio. In your position, you have a unique perspective as a leader with many years of industry experience. We're kind of looking at shifting the conversation. What programmatic level changes have you seen clients ask more of that this industry struggles to deliver?
I think that sometimes it ebbs and flows, but we are in a situation where, I mean, now the workforce is strained in general, but our clients have that challenge as much as we do on the consulting side, right? So we have staff who they need project managers, they need people who can come in, maybe from our firms and do the job that they would normally do, right? And I think that's those types of program management opportunities are things that it's a different type of professional, right? So I think that's one thing that the industry has to be flexible to do. We need to support our clients in both ways, both on their program delivery side and actually doing the technical work. And I think that in general, I think that we deliver that, but some firms, they just have different specialties, and so it's something that as an industry, if we all could get our head around that, I think it would bring a lot of horsepower to our clients. And I think too, just moving toward the sensitivities and moving your clients towards more innovations, more technological advances. I think the private industry tends to move a little bit more quickly than public sector clients like state DOTs, or, it's just they're larger organizations who have to have procedures for a number of reasons. So sometimes, it's like turning the aircraft carrier instead of moving quickly. So just techniques to help our clients be more nimble, but being empathetic to the fact that they just can't change on a dime. I think that's something that sometimes the industry can struggle with, but it's a really important thing to be able to do, and to just be able to pivot when there's a political change or a funding opportunity or change that requires political will in order to be able to deliver.
That's interesting. I never really thought about it that way, actually. Well, this kind of moves into the next question, because we're obviously we're doers a lot of the time, and as a leader in this industry, how much of your time do you spend thinking strategically? And if you could, would you increase your strategic thinking time rather than your kind of doing reaction, all of that?
And that's an interesting question, especially coming out of COVID, right? Because, I will say that obviously a really important part of my job is being strategic about, how we grow and where we grow, and, what do we need to be providing for our clients so that, we're future focused and future ready. But the reality is there is a lot of chaos to control too, right? And especially in, tumultuous times, something like COVID, all of a sudden overnight, everybody's working from home, which has not been a situation anybody was, prepared for. It's been interesting, but, I would say sort of like it's always something, but it just comes in waves, I think, like anything in life. I mean, there are moments you have to be prepared to I think deal with emergencies. That's just kind of part of the job. But the big picture thinking and setting aside time to do that is really critical. It also helps engage employees and attract new employees, and that's one of the most important things that I also do. So I try to keep the eye on the ball. I don't know that there's a consistent percentage of time, but we always have to keep strategic growth on the horizon, or we're going to cease to exist.
Exactly.
And so kind of going off what you said about, recruitment and, working through kind of challenging times, retention is a huge issue that rests side by side with recruitment. And coming out of COVID, many people feel isolated and stressed about working around family members at home. Are you doing anything to care for the folks working in a hybrid work schedule? And how has COVID changed the way you work in any other way?
Yeah, so, as a company, we now have a hybrid approach. So, I think that everybody recognizes that flexibility is really important to the current workforce, and it really does have its benefits for all of us. I mean, I think we all can agree on that. And then, of course, people have their preferences. There's people who love working in an office. I came back to the office pretty early on in the pandemic because I wanted to, but there are people who aren't comfortable. And I think, with that perspective, you have to highlight, the benefits of, being around a team, because I do believe that there really is something lost, particularly in terms of mentorship and engagement, which helps support retention. When you don't have that. So, I mean, we're trying to establish that balance. Everybody's different, and it's interesting because I feel like there's a little bit of a dichotomy. Everybody likes the flexibility to work from home, but then they'll also say that they don't feel engaged, right? So there has to be sort of a little bit of accountability in everyone, I think, to make that effort to come to the office. So we try to do things that will pull people in, whether it's related to a project or their team is in one day, or lunches and food that attract people. Those are all strategies that have been working. But I would say that, fundamentally, it's all changed because people are comfortable and we're able to get work done, even if we're not all together all of the time. And I think that's a real positive. I think what we have to be careful of is we still want to be able to develop a robust workforce, and especially those young in their career. Sometimes you just don't know what you don't know, and what you can get from looking over the shoulder of a senior engineer, or just being able to walk over and ask a question, or have a pleasant exchange with someone when you walk by their cubicle. It can have a huge impact, and we need to remind people of that.
Exactly. I think that we all look at this time as something that was going to pass, and what we've done is we've our whole lives have become hybrid, so we've all kind of taken the best, hopefully, and we're moving into it. But retaining people, making sure they feel connected, that is a really important piece. So even if they're working somewhere else, keeping that connection and reaching out to them and finding connection. So it's always, I think it's a great, it's a real important piece that everybody's looking at right now, is let them work at home, but make sure that they feel like spiritually and mentally and physically connected in some way. So
absolutely. Yeah.
So we have a great last question that we really like. We really wanted to ask you, and because you are such a great leader, what are you most proud of that you have accomplished since becoming WSP Southern State District Leader?
Well, this isn't an accomplishment in the role per se, but frankly, I've gotten to where I am by working my way up through the organization, right? So I've worn a lot of different hats. I worked for small firms, then I've done a lot of project work, and even here with my team in Atlanta, I came here and led the planning and environment group. Then I moved into what was called the area manager role, where I led transportation for Georgia. And then I moved into this role. And what really sort of took me aback when I moved into this role was how supportive that team around me was, right? Because they know me and have engaged with me over time. And so I've been able to be sort of a personal inspiration to them. And I've been able to bring a lot of people here who I enjoy working with. So those are the things that I'm a team person. So those are the things that I'm most proud of, is the fact that, I look around the office and we have all of these great people. Everybody I would want to work with in, Atlanta, I've got here with me. And so while it's a great new challenge for me to be able to focus on our growth other places, I'm, that sort of sense of accomplishment of moving up through the ranks that can be inspiring to others who will hopefully do the same, I think is what I'm most proud of.
Oh, that's an amazing accomplishment, actually, to bring people and inspire people, and then have the people around you that you want to be around. There's nothing better. So, just having the position is an incredible feat, and then bringing all of those wonderful things to the position. Good on you.
Thanks.
That's fantastic. Well, I just want to thank you so much for joining us today. And we are inspired by the way you're elevating women and leadership in the industry. And we want to spend more time with you in the future. Hope to see you in person in the future. That would be really fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate the opportunity. This was fun.
Thank you so much.
Great.
Thank you.